everyone, this is Zaza.
I'm Fix.
Welcome to
The Walk. Oh wow, guys, today we have a special guest. I'm excited. Are you, Zaza?
introduction.
Yeah.
Can we have an introduction, please?
So, this is Reverend Kenan Prince. Yes, we've known him for a while now, so he's become a good friend of ours. So we're excited. We'll be talking about polygamy, and so he'll be giving us his 2 cents on on the discussion. So yeah, it's exciting. So polygamy is having multiple wives. So men that have multiple wives.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Simple.
I was just going to interject a bit to say thanks for that introduction.
Yes.
And as a priest, it's interesting that among other things, I'm having to talk about polygamy today, and I'm excited really to be talking about it. But it just occurred to me that polygamy, actually, the definition is an umbrella definition both for men having multiple wives and actually women having multiple partners. But if we're going to talk about polygamy in terms of men having multiple wives, that is polygyny, is called. Then women having multiple husbands is polyandry.
Okay.
Yeah. So polygamy. Yeah.
So polygamy. That's another. That's just a whole series.
Umbrella.
Yeah.
Umbrella.
Okay. So it can be males and then it can be females in that umbrella. So then when you put it now specifically on men,
that's correct.
And when you put it on a woman, it's men.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for men,
I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're taking notes, guys, because as we didn't even know. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's really interesting. So, what can you tell us about that? What is it? What? I know that you've already explained it. Is it something? Is there more you want to tell us about?
Yes. So, I actually did a bit of work, an academic research on this topic, polygamy, but it was mainly around, the nature of polygamy, whether it is present in the Christian Bible. Whether the Bible supports it. So during my research, I was able to look at this phenomenon across cultures and across religion. Yeah. So I know a bit about this subject. Yeah. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to make a point about polygamy being natural for human beings. I mean, we are higher animals. So having multiple, if you don't mind me saying, sexual partners is not uncommon. It's not surprising. However, in the West, they find it really strange and as if it's a taboo. To be. I mean, remember, polygamy is about being married to multiple partners. But I don't think it's a problem in the West to people have multiple partners. Yes, I mean it's frowned upon, but it happens.
It happens. And the thing is, when it comes to this thing of polygamy, it does speak to culture, like what culture you come from, but also for some people it's appetite.
Absolutely,
it's those that are lasting.
I think I read somewhere, can't remember where it was. They say like the unnatural way of how we do things, that like every being you are attracted sexually with so many people, but this thing of choosing to be monogamous is like an unnatural way of doing things.
I think that's a very good point, because monogamy is not something. You're right. I mean, it's not like it's unnatural. It's natural. You find, when I was doing some my research, I undertook an anthropological outlook on, animal behavior and human behavior when it comes to sexual partners. So you find animals who are monogamous, if you like. Monogamous, kind of tend to stick with one particular partner. But it's rare. They are there. I can't remember what animals these are, but they are there. But you're quite right to say that humans, or even majority of animals, are not built to be monogamous. You know, so because they just met with any, whatever other opposite sex that they could find. So again, this is true for human beings. Remember, if we were to take evolution seriously, we were once obviously very animalistic, and never had a particular sexual partner. So it was just our nearest cousin, the ape, still met with different female apes they can find around. So this is how things started with us as human beings before different sort of revolutions, agricultural revolution, when we started moving away from hunter-gatherer to becoming more into agriculture. That's when we began to change our outlook about having to go towards being monogamous. So I'm going to talk about a bit more about that as we go along.
No, that's exciting.
That's exciting.
With this thing of especially now you spoke about it can be any gender, the tendency of our culture now in terms of how they view things. Do you think the idea or the concept of monogamous relationship is frowned upon, or is it something that is accepted, especially in the West, because it's not something that is familiar, they are familiar with? Is it something that you think is frowned upon in the West?
So monogamy, you mean?
No.
Polygamy.
Polygamy.
It's a good question. When you talk about the West in general, they tend to be more, when it comes to marriage, they prescribe, they encourage monogamous relationship, marital relationship. However, what you also find is that, you made a point earlier about it not, monogamy not being very natural. But what you find in the West in particular is the rate of divorce. So what you find is that a man who marries one woman and they ended up divorcing her and possibly having children with this woman would go from one woman to another and still maintain some sort of relationship because of the children with that initial woman, and then they remarry and perhaps have one or two more kids with this woman, but they still maintain. And then I've come across an individual during my research who a white man who has 4 wives. Well, exes, as it were. So he's been married 4 times.
4 times. 4 wives. Oh my God! He doesn't know what nature.
Absolutely. No, it does happen in the South America. I think America.
Wow.
Down those. I think, what do they call them? This religious group.
The Mormons.
The Mormons, the Mormons. They
But see, we hear it more on black. There's never even a pinpoint on what taco. They have it, It's like black man all the time. So,
so I come across this individual. So what I call it, and what a lot of people who are doing this research call people like that, serial monogamous people. We call it serial monogamy. Serial monogamy is equivalent, in my view, to polygamy, but the only reason why they can't be allowed to keep these women is because the law doesn't allow it. So is polygamy frowned upon in the West? Yes, because from time immemorial, I remember even in the Roman, Roman time, Roman Empire and the Roman civilization, the Greek Empire, they would not allow polygamy even as far back as that time. However, they are happy for men to have concubines, to have slave women that they can have children with. But legally, harlots. Exactly, harlots and what have you. But legally, even then, they used to have pedophilia with men going out with little boys. Honestly, however, when it comes to marriage, the legal stuff, they would always want it to be a man and a woman. So in the West, there's been a culture of
keeping that.
Exactly, monogamy. However, if you push further before the Western civilization, what you find is also kings, aristocrats, having multiple partners. You know, even in England,
mistresses they call them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's right. So in terms of polygamy being frowned upon in the Western culture, yes, but it doesn't mean that the Westerners are in any way on a better moral footing than people in other part of the world who don't see any issue with polygamy. This is their own way of wanting to, you know, look at marriage.
Having said, like, you know, moral values, like your values and all of that, so in your view, do you think it's morally inapt or correct to
so if we're talking about polygyny, where a man takes multiple wives,
which is the more popular one?
Well, I start from the place of there isn't any, in my view, a moral absolute when it comes to human morality and human, you know, ethics. I believe that morality is relative. Subject to,
it is, subject to the culture, in the environment, and how people see things.
Exactly. So let me give you an example. So I was in Kenya giving a lecture on this issue before Kenyan government many years ago, passed a law to allow men to marry multiple women in Kenya, and that is acceptable there. But here is not. So I cannot therefore say, I cannot make a moral judgment to say that Kenyans have got it wrong, and then the West have got it right. No. So in terms of whether it's morally correct, I think what matters is people, adult, grown-up people who are coming into a loving relationship, and they are entering into a contract, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, some sort of covenant where they're able to love each other properly, treat each other with respect. I think that's what matters. It doesn't matter whether they're, you know, a man is gonna with he's got multiple, 3, 4, 5, multiple wives. But what matters is that people who are part of this sort of relationship are all doing that with their eyes open, and they are all consenting adults. So I wouldn't make judgments against polygamy.
Oh wow, we do have someone as well in South Africa who has 4 wives, and he's doing it. Mseleko. He's got 4 wives, and I mean, they all have their houses. All having their this. You know, no one is saying I have better than the other one, and this thing. Everything is just same.
It makes it look.
It makes it look easy and attractive. That cool. As a woman, you could actually say yes to that. You know. But what I am against is that a person who doesn't have money comes to me and says he wants to take a second wife. And that time we're trying to sort our finance together. We're putting our finance together. Then he just comes and says, "Hey, I've decided to have another wife." And it's like no. You need to sort out this wife first.
Absolutely.
Sort out your things.
Sort out your things first before we can even go that far.
Absolutely.
You know, because you can't just come and say are you gonna afford that wife? If that wife has children, what are you gonna do? Because I already have my children. So if that wife has children, what? You know. So the way Umsaleku does it is nice. You know, it's nice. Even if I don't accept it, but it's nice. Then he's got children with the wives. There's just one who doesn't have. But then it's like that. It's easy. He makes it look attractive.
Absolutely,
because thinking this is a guy who, you know,
Well, what I could say to that is, I've always said to people who ask these questions that what matters is, people have said, polygamy or polygyny is patriarchy, which means it kind of undermines women and it's like putting them down. But I said, no, that's not true, because these women are allowed to make that choice. As far as they are not coerced or forced into it. And also, when you talked about the man looking after me, making sure, but like modern, I think you're going to touch on this modern polyamory, which is practiced in this country actually, in the West, where a man lives with multiple women. this is not a matter of whether the man can look after them. It's about people who are independent, are able to look after themselves, coming into some sort of relationship of that nature. So that mentality of, how can the man look after me and the other one, is the mentality we used to have back in the days in our African countries, where this polygamy is still being practiced, where the man is normally quite rich and he's on top of the class and is able to take a lot of women, and that one, I don't, it makes more sense when you say, can he look after him? But in the modern times, I don't see why polygamy can't work for a woman who is interested in doing it. But I'm not saying therefore go for it if it's not your thing. It's not your thing.
Don't go stress yourself.
Like there has to be an agreement early on. I think I have a problem with a man. We'll generalize at the moment. I have a problem with a man who is gonna meet this girl, they fall in love, they marry, and then suggest polygamy in the marriage. I respect the man who's gonna go, listen girl, I'm in love with you, I want this, but you won't be the only wife. I'm gonna want this. Now the person has entered in that marriage knowing that, this is the business of this.
This is what I'm getting.
So I can't be crying when that other wife actually comes.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and in like this show that I'm even talking about, he's got a show and he does it. It takes men to it takes the men to go and ask their wives hand for another woman to come in their life.
In the life.
Yes. So, the funny thing, why I'm laughing when Fix says this is how the reaction of the woman. You just see, he would just come in, like knock on your door. Then you're like, come in with a smile. And then they see this guy come in, they're like, yo.
They already know.
The lady literally cried.
This girl is such.
She cried even before he could even open his mouth. And then he was like, I can see I'm not your friend. How can it be your friend? Fix is right. It's good when you know what you are coming in. If you're gonna go in a marriage or whatever it is, you have to know. Okay, you need to prepare you. There's gonna be question marks as we keep going. Not now. I'm with you. Life is good and everything. Then all of a sudden, boom. I want a second wife. I need to expand the family. Why didn't think about expanding the family when you married for the first time? You are clear about where you are standing.
Absolutely.
Not just all of a sudden, you are not good enough. It's like you are saying. It's like you're saying you are not good enough.
I need another person.
Who's gonna? And others will use an excuse of, I need to find someone who's gonna go to the village and take care of my mom. Why didn't you speak about this before? To ask if will I even be able to, or what can we do in that? You bring in a wife that you've been sleeping with all this. Now you're saying you want to.
Absolutely, no, I agree completely with you, because I think that for a man who wants to practice polygyny, it should be something, as you said, that started an agreement made from day one. And I have always said that polygyny works when people that are involved in it are all on the same boat. They are in agreement. So say someone like you wouldn't want that to be imposed upon you. Because that's not what you signed up for. But women out there who are listening to this and you are interested in polygyny, don't let the culture or anyone tell you, it's not right. If that's what you want, and there are men out there, exactly, find it. But if you are married and you already settled in a marriage which is monogamous, I would say to you, if polygyny is not your stuff, don't give in to it. Don't allow that.
Run away.
It won't be easy.
Because it won't work.
It
needs
easy.
your consent as a woman for it to work. So if you're not in agreement for another woman to be added into the family, that is where polygamy gets really messy. So I would not encourage that. It's something, like you said, should be in agreement from day one. I mean, even if it's not in agreement from day one, the woman who is currently married now with the married man, and she's happy for another woman to be added on top, then it's fine as far as you're happy. But if you're not happy, it won't work.
Do you think like people who do enter mainly guys who do enter into polygamy, like it's a calling or something that they gifted in. And I the only reason I say that, like, I could go back to even when I was young, up to guys who have girlfriends, like multiple girlfriends. They able to talk to each of them. They're able to cater for them. No one's feeling that. And then, like, for me, I know that I would never be able to have multiple girlfriends. I could have multiple sex partners where I could sleep with you, but none of them are gonna be taken care of, because I can do the other without that emotional part of it. So that's where it's like, I know a lot of guys who are like that as well. But I know there are some guys who are like, it's like, just that it's not marriage, but they might as well be that, texting each other, doing all of that, and the girl feels like they're in a relationship. So that's why I'm saying, do you think, it's a gift or a calling, or what you could interpret it as?
Good question. From my, I want to say from my experience, because I'm not experienced, having multiple wives. But from my research, what I figured out is that people have motivation. So one motivation that I found out was there are men who their motivation is just to legitimately sleep with as many women as they want.
They can,
Even in the Bible, for instance, the Bible frowns upon adultery, but doesn't frown upon polygamy. So a man is allowed in the Bible,
but
to have multiple.
But do you think the Bible even talks? It accounts about polygamy, like so and so had these wives and all of that, but it doesn't even talk about like where God's view is about it, or how. Okay.
God said to David, "Why did you kill Uriah's
wife?"
So Uriah was killed.
Bathsheba. No, it wasn't Bathsheba. What's her name?
The wife of that friend.
And what God said to David is that I could have given you more wives. Should have gone for this woman.
No. It says, with all of the things that I have given you.
You still
do that.
And
then you still go do that. It's easy to interpret as, but when he says with all of those things,
no, but he did actually say, God did say that I could give you more. In that part, we can look at the passage.
Okay.
It actually said,
I'll trust you in that.
Yeah, I could give you more.
But again, God never addressed any of that. He never said it was wrong. He never said it was right or anything. Like
it's not in question. It's not something that's.
I don't think it's in question at all. From marriage,
it's been accepted.
It's not even a matter of acceptance. It's a matter of, for instance, Moses as well. I mean, there are many people, key figures in the Bible who
had
practiced, polygamy, having multiple wives, and God blessed them. And in fact, it was accepted. And these people are God's, like David is after God's heart, and is the apple of God's eyes. And there are, I need to bring. It's been a while. I need to bring examples. Hopefully before to show you in the Bible where God actually was.
And then there was also this thing of Rebecca.
Because it always for me was that question of like, does God approve this polygamous marriage, specifically for the men with multiple partners? Because when I've known God to bless marriage, like speak on marriage and bless marriage, I know a Boaz with Rachel. That one he spoke. It was the focus of the marriage of their coming together. Adam and Eve, like it's things that he spoke to. Where it was, polyamorous, I've never had him like intervene in any way, whether bad or good. But I've never had him. I've never read or like seen that part of his involvement into making that poly.
I see what you mean. So he's trying to say that God somehow approves of the initial example of marriage, which is, as you mentioned, Adam and Eve, but he didn't see God saying that God is completely silent when it comes to polygamous marriage.
Yeah, it's like even when it was Israel, Jacob, when his father sent the guy, and the guy was the guy was praying to say, if the guy that was sent there, who's Jacob's father? It is Isaac. Is it?
Isaac, yeah.
So I think between those three, I'm not conscious, but I think Isaac sent a guy to go look for a wife for Jacob. Jacob. Yes. And so when they were there, the guy then prayed to God and said, if can you make this girl that's meant to be for Jacob, be able to offer water and offer for the donkey. I think it was for the donkey and all of that. So for me, that is God's intervention into that, wanting that marriage. Like he intervened in that marriage. So there isn't any any knowledge of knowing him intervening into a polygamous thing.
If I remember correct myself, Rachel and Leah.
I was about to say that.
Yeah,
they are sisters. The sisters, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
The sisters, because was that the one that was tricked? I'm trying to remember now.
Exactly.
The one that was tricked. They said because you have to take the firstborn first.
I'm thinking it's Isaac that got that intervention, the one I've just spoken about, because Jacob's the one with the Leah and thingy.
With Jacob, they went to find him wife. They went clean. He came back.
Who's the wife?
Isaac. And then you saw there's I don't know.
Isaac. I'm not calling him.
I know there's.
I should be asking this question actually. I think it's Jacob.
You should be answering.
I'm telling you. He says this patriarchs of the
true,
Bible.
but you are right. Those two sisters.
Yeah.
But because he loved the other one, and they tried to push the firstborn for him to sleep with the firstborn instead of the second one. Then you realize after that, what's going on?
That's not the one.
Where is God's intervention in that?
That's what I'm saying. Where is it?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying there isn't any account in the Bible.
But what is he saying about it though, Foot? What is he saying about it? Because they go on. They go on. They go on. He doesn't say. I don't know. He doesn't say something about which is wrong.
It's
either.
wrong.
He doesn't say anything.
That's the interesting thing.
That's very
interesting. He doesn't say.
That is very
I don't.
interesting.
There might not be an explicit comment about it being. We are sanction, but there are implicit, examples across scripture of God saying, "I'm giving approval for this stuff." I mean, a lot of my friends, fellow theologians will say Adam and Eve were the first example of marriage, and if God wanted to, if God had approved of polygamy, God would have probably created Adam and multiple Eves and stuff. But
and otherwise, from the beginning, when he created men and women, there's other men and 5 wives.
Absolutely. But the only thing I respond to them in my response is there are examples of God also changing things along the line as human we grow to understand God and to get to know God. So you could not just say therefore that beginning is the 100%, if you like, stamp on what marriage looks like. Because if that's the case, why didn't God approve of and sanction all these great men to get to marry multiple wives? And I could give you examples of things that God has done in the beginning, but goes on to sort of do something different along the line. So that in itself shows that the beginning is ambiguous. You can't say this is an absolute interpretation of marriage. Adam and Eve are examples. Okay, if that's the case, then what happens with the rest who ended up becoming polygamous? So even in Deuteronomy or in the Bible, for instance, you look at Leviticus, you look at even the 10 Commandments, even there are no laws prescribing polygamy at all. What you find are laws, God saying this is how you treat your wives, in plural. So for me, that in itself says that God is accepting of polygamy and in fact approving of it.
So that means he's saying, okay, if you are treating your wife this way, good right, you can have even 20. That's what you're trying to say.
Not 60. Not necessarily.
I don't think a man will survive 20 anyways.
Well, they did survive in the Bible. I mean, Solomon had nearly 1,000 to look after. Yeah.
Sure.
Well done, Dre. So that some people that are gifted into this area of
other people
this.
I think it boils down to choice and motives.
Yeah.
Some people it's about prestige, class.
Yeah.
Of course, in some African countries where it's practiced, it's about again culture. And statements. People like to drive good cars. It varies. It boils down to choice and motivation. I think it's not because they are gifted into doing it. But I see your point. So yes, that is also true. There are men who are better able to manage
the whole thing,
better able to enter into such arrangements than other men. I mean, that's the sad fact. But, yes.
That's very good.
That's really interesting. But we need to go deep. It's just that now we can't go that deep. But we need to put about women being the ones who are having a lot of questions. Because we can talk. On this one I'm silent because I don't agree. I don't agree with men having whatever. Why? That's my personal view of it. I don't agree. I don't think I'll be that person who will be so free to share my man with another woman. I don't know. Am I a jealous type? I don't know. But if a man could just say, okay, tonight I'm going to sleep with this other one, so I'll see you tomorrow. I just sit down and I think, could I even be like, okay, okay, baby, that's fine.
Go off then.
It's hard. That's why I support you when you say when you go in it, you need to be prepared, and you need to know this is what you are going in, and you need to accept it. Because if you're gonna go in it like that, blinded ganja, you will struggle. You will struggle. I mean, I will struggle. I think I'll be all the time calling fix like, hey, I wanna just put a knife. Going insane. So yeah, you were right when you said we need to sort of accept it and stuff like that. Yeah.
Can I ask you one quick question? Why do you not approve of polygamy? Is it because of cultural reasons or personal reasons?
Personal. I don't think I'm a person who likes to share.
Okay. It's about sharing. You're very
I share other stuff, but not a man.
You're going to share.
No. It's like this thing of even this simple life of having a threesome. I can never do that. Like two women and a man.
And one man.
I can never do that because it's like now I'm sharing this, and it's something that is so intimate, and I want to enjoy it. Me and the guy.
Absolutely.
Now he'll pay attention to me. Then after he just chills off and goes, well, I'm still even hyped.
Exactly.
I can't. That's something that I can never do. So
it's about like owning.
I don't know. Maybe I could be okay. I don't know, but it's not something I welcome.
My follow-up question would be, I did ask you what I think. My follow-up question would be, how do you think our mothers back in the days, our ancestors who practiced this in Africa, so what was going through the mind of the women that they were accepting of it? What would be the reason? Because clearly you are right to say, no way. But do you think that your view is going to be the view of every other woman?
No, of course
not at all. Okay,
because they've got their own thing, and who knows? Maybe the mothers, all those old people, they wanted to take a knife and just stab the that's all we are knowing, because nobody has come and said. They just stayed there in the marriages, respecting their husband and doing whatever they're doing.
Maybe because women didn't have a lot of power. Of opportunities, a lot of authority that they enjoy now.
Yeah.
The patriarchy was probably there.
And also maybe I think once you accustomed to a certain worldview and it becomes normal, then maybe even that part of jealousy for some women didn't even play a part. They were like, this is my word, this is what I know, this is how it is.
I need to say there are few men in the world and there's a lot of women, so we have to share. I don't have to share. Not that too. I can share other stuff, but just not my guy. Yeah, my guy is my guy. Do
you think, because maybe this is my traditional, self speaking here, where do you think it'd be more comfortable watching a guy, which is polygyny, watching a guy do it and be comfortable for you, but if a female had to do it, polyandra, where it'd be like, I'm not comfortable even looking at this.
Yeah.
So
This is the thing.
Yeah,
this is the selfish
I'm
pattern.
not even comfortable.
That is a good question. I mean, I always struggle to answer this question.
I bet.
From the biblical perspective, we have absolutely no example.
No example at all.
From
like
that, I could say God said no. He can't do it.
It's not mentioned.
So
honestly
don't do
told
it.
them, it's like, come on, ladies. We know about the whole, all of
Yeah. So if you're a Christian,
prostitutes,
you haven't
but
got any justification from the Bible as a woman to take multiple husbands. But if you're a man, I think you are in luck because you've got justification of the Bible to take multiple wives. So that's why my starting point.
You will change the Bible.
But
You're not allowed to.
do you think it's more biblical or it's because of the cultural practices of that time?
That's a good point, actually, and I agree with you. I think, again, because of my view of the Bible, it's more of the culture. Because in my view, the culture shaped scripture. It's about culture.
It's like one that talks about how women are to wear and all of that. I think it was more for me a thing of saying this is the culture in which people dress.
Yeah.
So rather than you being this one who's just gonna stand out and people focus on you on the things that you're doing wrong, not on who you are as a child of God. So because the culture is this, dress up this way. Because if you don't, then it becomes about you, not about God.
I agree, but I think it's worth mentioning that there are parts of the world where women take multiple husbands. And in my research, I came across that. So there are some places.
So there is research you came across like that.
Yeah.
Women power! Please, I would like to see those marriages.
It's really good.
You see, now we're talking.
So, and what happened is that there are examples of women, cultures where women have multiple husbands. Yes. And it's just normal.
Sorry guys, we just experienced load shedding. But it's so cute to say. We're ending.
I could be specific. I think it's towards the Easterners, like Eastern culture, like China, them areas. I can't pinpoint what particular culture or what particular people that practice polyandry. But they are minority though, in the minority, but it exists.
It exists.
So Google search it, you find it. Actually, I'm not lying. I'm not making it up.
It's interesting.
You'll find it.
It's a really good research. This whole concept of it, because it's a very good research.
I mean, what drew me into doing this research was because my grandfather had multiple wives, so he married three women, and I grew up. Obviously, I didn't meet my own father's mother, but I met the other women, because so I saw the way he treated them. It was really perfect, no problem.
Wow,
it was absolutely fine. But when Christianity came to Nigeria, from where I come from, I'm Igbo. So the Catholic Church didn't give my grandfather a befitting burial because he's a practicing polygamist. Yeah.
Wow.
So that made me really angry, and I embarked on on this research, saying, you know what, I'm going to research whether the Bible really condemns polygamy, because this is not fair. In my head, I thought, when as a boy reading the Bible, I never come across the Bible really condemning it. So when I went to theological college to train for ordination, and then to do my master's degree and then PhD. But when I was doing my master's degree, I did, I'm going to do a research on this.
Yeah.
And it happens that the Bible didn't condemn it at all. Not even the New Testament. Not just the Old Testament. Not even Jesus Christ was completely silent about the issue. And I don't think that, given the culture he was living at the time, he would have seen people with multiple wives in his time. So he didn't say anything against polygamy. In fact, there are church fathers, really, like Martin Luther, one of the heaviest Protestants,
Martin Luther,
approves of it.
Yeah.
Great sense of the Catholic, tradition, approves of it. In fact, just recently I came across a research where a current theologian, very popular theologian, I can't remember his name, he married multiple wives. Yeah. So Christians, but they were doing it in the heathen. Even like I said, Martin Luther married a King Philip or whatever, Philippe. Another wife said to him, God didn't condemn it. And this issue has been a life issue in the church, and there is absolutely not a great condemnation against polygamy.
Oh wow, we've had it all. Poly. Oh, this is exciting. We'll be back with more. Every week we are in this. That's all for today. Yes. We had a great time, Sister Tite.
Yes, we did. Hope to see you soon on our next episode.
Oh yes. Bye.